Well, hi Glenn. Here we go again. First off, I'm going to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving Day. We're all still here. And most of us are enjoying a meal and some much beer. But I ask all to spare a thought for the billions that today don't have that luxury. Be grateful and thankful that you're not one of them. Perspective is often lost, and this show always brings perspective back into line as the world and its people faces the dire actions due to the stupidity of the few. But that stupidity of the elites has been passed on to the masses, their army of compliant bots, despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Now, I want to say a special thanks to NB today. You know who you are. Thank you so much. I also want to say thank you to all those who contribute to me and also the TPC. Rest assured, our funds goes to the right causes. But the desire, want or need for a TPC Ireland increases by the day, it seems, away from the seething masses of stupidity whose inability to think for themselves has become a genetic default. They breed other non-thinkers and the compliant masses spreads like a virus. Non-thinkers are the COVID virus. A famous saying from Steve Jobs, I think it was, that applies to us all that listen to this show. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward, and while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the ones who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. In a week as Tucker Carlson reveals himself a worthy adversary and worthy replacement to a famous alt-media flip-flopper this past week, as his ratings fall fast against all other leading portal people. As the Trump favourite news channel, OAN, does a full hit piece exposing Q and QAnon as fake this week, with Sean Spicer and Sarah Huckabee declaring the movement fake, the questions remain as to why Trump was buying into it, doing Q air signs, and why the change now. And all this as 12 million Americans face loss of employment benefits the day after Christmas. These are concerning times. The number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits rose 778,000 this week, added to the 748,000 the week before. Over 1.5 million extra jobless in just the past 2 weeks, and yet people still accept this shit. Go back to work en masse is what we should be doing. They cannot arrest us all. And cops and other enforcement need to stand down. Just following orders is not an excuse. They did that in the 1940s, remember? It never turned out well for we the people, did it? How long are parents going to continue to act like bots? Going to risk masking their children, causing great harm to them, even to the point of risking their lives? Dr. Eric Nepute in St. Louis this week took time to record a video that he wanted everyone to share after the 4-year-old child of one of his patients almost died from a bacterial lung infection caused by prolonged mask use. We've also heard today that 6 protesters were shot with live rounds in Bangkok, and predictably the police denied the claims. Sadly, one died. Also in this past week, for mass murder of the elderly, shutting down of businesses, treating people like cattle, overseeing over 500,000 people leave the area, running Stasi-style police forces, you can get a lot, it seems, in their world these days. Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York will receive this year's International Emmy Founders Award in recognition of his leadership during the COVID-19 pandemic and his masterful use of television to inform and calm people around the world. Really. The Emmy was presented to him during the Academy's Live on November the 23rd. An award for mass murder of elderly in care homes. Utter psychopaths. And calling for a boycott of the Emmy Awards, in fact all their fake awards, Nobel Peace Prize, they're all just backslapping clowns. But the Emmy Awards is a platform, remember, for awarding adrenochrome participants for complying with psychopaths and keeping the illusion that they are more important than the rest of us. In essence, they are the peanut gallery in the main city of the Hunger Games series. Vacuous cretins out of touch with reality, living fake lives with fake fame, fake tits, lips, arse, name and ages, most of them at the expense of young children. I guess the leader of the rebellion didn't get round to arresting Cuomo after all. Awful lot of major predictions all failed now over there. And I heard today they copied our material from our show on Tuesday, predictably with no reference, which is suggestive of a rivalry between the shows, which is childlike. We will never solve problems acting like children, and some people think I am the problem. But I'm glad the info is being put out, and it reaffirms we lead and they copy, paste and follow us. Let us just keep leading on our adult-based path. Not content with funding coming from the trust in March that funded the Fed, and then they launched their lockdown programme of closing businesses and mask mandates on the back of that money. Today I hear the trustee has gone one step further and gave Trump $500 billion of the trust money, and then Trump immediately announced the vaccine programme will start next week. The trustee gave Trump $500 billion of our money, and then Trump announced the vaccine programme will start next week. To those of you that jumped ship over there, do you still think I'm the problem? Some deep, clear and transparent explanations are required by the trustee, not mind control TV channels. And if this is fully confirmed, it is a massive sellout of we the people. it's a staggering, traitorous act, should it be confirmed, and some clear answers, transparent answers, are required from the trustee. I have by and large kept quiet, contrary to popular belief, whilst they took the piss, made snide remarks, libelous accusations, childlike game playing within their shows, all whilst knowing that Kim funded the Federal Reserve BlackRock in March, which then gave them the money to fund the lockdown programme and closing the businesses and the mask mandates, and now does this. And for those of you in THI and part in UN or UNC, UN being the operative word I think here now, please leave THI. We don't want you. You have to make a choice now between we the people and traitorous trustees selling the people out. You have a choice to make. I told you all along, we were the only group that wasn't connected to some sort of political, secret society, agency, etc., that operated for and by the people. We are the only group. Period. So not content with all the people that are suffering in America, we now got to undergo injection programs. That's going to cause a lot of deaths in this country and civil war. All at the hands of Kim Go-Goon, the trustee. Trump's no better. He announced it. You still got people in our group who are crying about Trump not being the bloody president. Why? What's he done for we the people? Nothing. Despite getting more help than any other president in history. I'm calling for an out-and-out boycott of the UN channel as of tonight. If you want to be part of their group, please leave THI. I don't care who you are. You've got to make a choice. No splinters in your arse by fence sitting. It's us or them now. Go and chase the money that may or may never arrive. But a line in the sand is drawn today. We are nothing to do with UN, trustee or Kim Go-Goon. They sold us out, along with his tank and his Black Sun generals. No more. Thousands of Israelis braved cool, wet weather Saturday night to extend months of demonstrations demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Several thousand people gathered outside Netanyahu's official residence in Jerusalem, the focal point of most of the demonstrations. A similarly sized crowd protested outside Netanyahu's private home in the upscale coastal town of Caesarea, all very Roman. Small gatherings took place at junctions and overpasses across Israel and the protests now in their 6th month appeared to be smaller than recent weeks. But grassroots organisers could face a challenge getting out large crowds in as winter arrives, and parts of Israel had suffered with heavy rain, which accounted for the smaller protests. Now, the protests say Netanyahu should resign while he's on trial for corruption charges and accuse him of mishandling the country's fake coronavirus crisis. The crisis has hit the economy hard, which is what it was designed to do, and sent unemployment skyrocketing, and many of the protesters are young people who have lost their jobs. Now, from my perspective, that's great to hear, and I support all the Jewish people fighting back against the Hebrew Anunnaki operating as Jews that has done much to destroy this planet and its people. Iranian military officials claim the country has bolstered its navy with the introduction of a new warship capable of carrying aircraft, drones, helicopters and missiles, according to a statement that was issued on Thursday. And the 150-metre Shahid Rudaki vessel is ready to carry out missions, according to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, the IRGC's existing fleet mainly comprises of small vessels off the Iranian coast and near the Straits of Hormuz, which is a strategic choke point on a major international oil and gas shipping route. Now, the announcement of the new addition to the fleet comes days after Tehran warned Washington that it would be met with a crushing response following reports that US President Donald Trump had considered strikes to take out Iranian nuclear sites. Trump requested that, for those of you still waiting for Trump to get back in. And they said any action against the Iranian nation would certainly face a crushing response. A New York Times article has suggested that the US officials, including Vice President Mike Pence, had to talk Trump down from military action, which could have included targeting Iran's primary uranium enrichment facility in Natanz. Now, Tehran has begun uranium enrichment at the underground plant at the site, according to a recent report by International Atomic Energy Agency, which is probably linked to Five Eyes. But this is a dangerous situation in Iran. I warned of it last week. Go and check the map. Israel wants to attack it and continue their caliphate from Egypt to India, along with the Saudi Peninsula. And it is the old version of empire expansion again that will increase the perpetual wars that have ravaged this planet for centuries. Now, whilst the world is distracted, those of the Hebrew Anunnaki clan and their traitorous puppets like Pompeo on a Middle East tour of ass-licking for the benefit not of America, but the fake Hebrew Anunnaki empire, continue to garner allies for support and approval of Israel, using trade deals to buy them off or issue sanctions against the said country. That's how they operate. The seedy world of foreign policy is littered with blackmail, deceit and high-level criminality, and Pompeo needs reining in and told you are paid to look after this country, not Israel. A new report this week by the European Court of Auditors has found that the EU's antitrust investigations are too slow and the fines too ineffective to curb the actions of large tech companies such as Google and Facebook. the EU watchdog released an assessment of the antitrust probe process, stating although the Commission has taken a number of case decisions tackling challenges resulting from the digital economy, significant challenges remain to be resolved. While EU antitrust investigations addressed the competition concerns, they were criticised in the report for failing to adapt quickly enough to the changes in digital markets, which meant that the tech giants were able to escape from necessary scrutiny and eliminate potential competitors. Now, criticism was also levelled at the Commission for conducting generally lengthy antitrust investigations that were only launched after a competition problem had arisen. And the report found it took on average of 4 years for a decision to be made in such inquiries. Now, due to the delays incurred, the effectiveness of the decisions taken by the EU was believed to be negatively impacted. And the report also noted that since parties often appeal before the EU courts, this can add significant delays to a Commission decision taken in effect. And even when an investigation was finished and had identified a particular breach, the European Court of Auditors raised concerns about the level of fines imposed, as effective enforcement requires deterrent fines. Now, despite the fines being some of the largest in the world, critics have claimed the figures involved are more than affordable for the wealthy tech companies. Now, the great question on American lips should be why are Congress and the Supreme Court allowing these truth deniers to block our First Amendment rights with impunity? A number of foreigners registering at US universities to get work permits is falling rapidly, according to a report, and likely opening up many Fortune 500 jobs for American graduates, is how they're passing it off. And the good news means that 30,000 additional slots have opened up for Americans, maybe as many as 60,000, according to Kevin Lynn, the director of US Tech Workers, which is a group that champions the workplace interests of American professionals. Good stuff. And the news for graduates was revealed by a survey of 700 colleges, which reported mid-November that new international student enrollment in the United States and online outside of the United States had decreased by 43% in fall 2020, and new enrollment of international students physically in the United States had declined by 72%. Now, the report was posted in the International Education Exchange, which is a government-backed group that tracks the inflow of foreign students into US universities. And the decline in new foreign students suggests that many fewer foreign graduates will get work permits via 2 work permit programs, which is dubbed the Optical Practical Training and Curricular Practical Training programs. Now, in 2021, the drop-off will cause a modest drop-off in foreign graduate workers starting in mid-2021, but quickly accelerating to major reductions in 22 and 23. Now, the Department of Homeland Security releases little about the cheap labour, fraud-prone programs which allow foreign managers in elite US companies to hire fellow nationals without any concerns about federal anti-discrimination law. And in 2019, for example, 535 foreigners had 1 or 2 year work permits from the OPT and CPT programs, despite the huge number of American graduates who cannot get jobs that match their college degrees. Now, the foreign graduates will take the no or low pay CPT or OPT jobs, Lynn said, because it's not just a job, it's a pathway to them for US citizenship. Now, the 535,000 foreign workers are a huge population compared to the roughly 800,000 Americans who graduate each year with high-tech degrees in business, healthcare, engineering, science, software, architecture or math. America, for too long now, has acquired foreign people and brain drained it, which then allows them to brain drain their populace and produce low-level graduates, because the cheaper foreign graduates were better suited for the plan. That's how it works. With foreign, more intelligent people now shunning this country will finally, after nearly 90 years, will have to actually teach its own populace again properly, or sink badly on an economic or political level. Now, one thing this will do is stifle the CIA program of foreign recruitment to then be sent back to their countries as mind-controlled spies, mercenaries, or government overthrow people. Independent journalist Glenn Greenwald torched accusations that he endangered reporters by saying NBC News spouts CIA propaganda, pronounced correctly, saying he only spoke of a well-known fact and the effort to shame him was manipulative bullshit. Profoundly sorry for endangering the lives of NBC executives and TV personalities by spilling the extremely well-kept secret of their close working relationship with the CIA, Greenwald tweeted sarcastically on Saturday. And his message showed a picture of a headline about NBC's 2018 hiring of ex-CIA chief John Brennan as an NBC and MSNBC contributor. Nice to hear other people stating the facts and the obvious that we at THI knew a long time back. Jonathan Munro, who is the BBC's head of news gathering, works for MI5 then, claimed that there are too many privileged white men in senior positions at the company, which then prompted others to point out the fact that he himself is one of them. And the BBC's Director General Tim Davie has vowed to make the company 50% female, 20% BAME, which is black, Asian, minority, ethnic, and 12% disabled. Now, Munro was mocked for his comment due to the fact that he is a white man in a senior BBC position himself. And comments from the British columnist Toby Young said, "Does this mean that you're resigning?" While the Times' Andrew Elson wrote, presumably these comments by Mr. Munro are a precursor to him resigning his £180,000 a year position in favour of an ethnic minority candidate, ? But what Mr. Munro and others fail to point out is the prominent colour within the BBC is white, for two reasons. One, the country is predominantly white, and two, the higher level of white is over-assessed because of the Jewish element, which are by far the most popular element within the higher reaches of the BBC. Always has been. It was when I was there. It's worse now. And they have declared themselves as white. They are not. They are grey. Take out the figures for the Jewish element and you will get a far fairer and clear picture of what is what at the BBC. Boris Johnson in the UK is facing rebellion in his own party after 70 MPs backed a letter sent to the Prime Minister advising they would not support further lockdown restrictions. Now, during a vote on the current 4-week system earlier this month, 32 Conservatives rebelled to oppose the measures and 17 more, including former Prime Minister Theresa May, abstained. But now it seems Mr Johnson may have another internal crisis on his hands after the letter on behalf of 70 of his own MPs, his own party that is, indicated they would not support the rollout of a new coronavirus lockdown restrictions. Trouble in camp. And then we have, still in the UK, former Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt, with a silent C, wants Brits to take a monthly coronavirus test with a negative result, earning them freedom passes. Oh my. They're back with the seducements again. And his idea has angered some commentators who call it Orwellian, indeed. Now, writing in the Times on Friday, Hunt described an effective vaccine as Britain's best shot at returning to normal life. That is the seducement. Where they're telling you we only go back to normal when we all get the vaccine. No. But Klaus Schwab, who's running the Great Reset, remember, told us all it would never go back to normal, did he not? However, the Conservative MP said the country needs a plan B. Yes, get rid of politicians. That's plan B. In the form of monthly tests for the whole population, with the freedom to live a normal life awarded only to those who show negative results. Really? And how's that going to work? How's it going to return to normal life if all the shops are closed? Only people that glow in the dark with the Firefly vaccine injection can go to work. What this is going to lead to is the coming civil war between the people in every country. And this is what they wanted, and it's problem, reaction, solution time again. Now, Hunt with a silent C suggested offering people who comply with testing and isolation requirements a freedom pass. Freedom. That it removes the requirement to follow lockdown regulations. Now, Slovakia rolled out a similar system less than a month earlier, with those testing negative earning a certificate exempting them from the curfew. Really? Though Hunt described the passes as an incentive to boost the uptake in testing, normal life would be quite impossible without one, he said. And in his own words, these passes should be required by people who want to go out, shop and go to work. What did they say on Tuesday about the non-winning solutions they're going to give you? But his idea thankfully didn't go down well on Twitter, with commenters accusing the Surrey MP of using Orwellian doublespeak to promote fascism. Yes, Mr. Hunt, with a silent C, needs to shut up and quickly. He is a fascist jackass following a programme he doesn't understand, doesn't get, or where it's leading to. And the next time you speak, Mr. Hunt, be careful to mask out the strings that operate you. You are a puppet. A proposal this week by congressional Democrat to pay Americans to stay home in order to get the coronavirus under control got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez into Twitter fights this week with two prominent female Republicans. So Ocasio tweeted, "To get the virus under control, we need to pay people to stay at home." Yes, Mnuchin promised that in July, remember. Perhaps he meant next July. And then Nikki Haley, Israeli puppet, replied, "Are you suggesting you want to pay people to stay home from the money you take by defunding the police? Or was that for the student debts you wanted to pay off, the Green Deal, or Medicare for all?" Haley added, referring to AOC's other proposals. AOC, the gift that keeps giving. Stealing our ideas for student loan debt payoff and the new banking system. And the question is, does she have a mind of her own? The barmaid, like Mr. Hunt previously, needs to shut up as well. Here is a report I got this week, and it tells you some of the mindsets of stupidity that is ongoing. And it states, as we edge ever closer to a COVID vaccine, the arguments for making it mandatory grow ever louder. And the reporter said, this is wrong, correct. But he then turned round and says, I will be the first in the queue to get it, but forcing people to do breaches their human rights. And the good news is that it looks as if we will soon be able to access a safe and effective vaccine to protect us from the COVID virus. Says who? The bad news is that there are plans afoot to criminalise views that oppose this vaccine, and even worse, there's a lot of chatter percolating from official sources that suggest that some want to make it a mandatory vaccine. Now, YouGov has just published a terrifying poll, according to the reporter, that asked, once a coronavirus vaccine is available, would you support or oppose the government making it legally compulsory for all people in Britain to be vaccinated? This is how they get round it, you see. They wait for your consent, or our consent. And alarmingly, 49% of those who were surveyed said they would support a compulsory vaccine. Bot people, or the new term, COVIDiots. Only 34% of those polled by YouGov stated that they opposed legally compelling people to be vaccinated, and that is worrying news. But of course, polls only indicate part of the story, and they represent off-the-cuff reactions to a question. Yet the very fact that compulsory vaccination has become a focus for polling indicates that it's become an issue in society. No, they're asking for your consent from the COVIDiots. But as the Reporters said compulsory vaccination represents a serious attack on people's rights to make decisions about matters that directly affect their own body, and it violates the principles of bodily integrity, which is the right of each human being to exercise self-determination over their own body. The freedom to make a choice about whether or not to accept a health intervention in your body is a fundamental one. And in a democratic society, people cannot be forced to be vaccinated without losing their right to be free citizens. Now, historically, such coercive acts in the name of health have been promoted by eugenics-inspired governments like Sweden, or by totalitarian states like the Nazi Zionist Germany. And the reporter says, I'm in favour, 100% in favour of receiving the first vaccine against COVID that I can lay my hands on. On balance, despite the great speed with which these vaccines have been innovated, I am convinced that the risk of infection is far, far outweighed by its possible side effects. I am also 100% against making the vaccination compulsory. And he said, I was disturbed when I heard the Secretary of State for Health, Matt Hancock, refused to rule out mandatory vaccination in Britain. My opinion is it should be made available to all those stupid enough to take it. This may be the greatest wheat and chaff moment in history. And should it have adverse effects, it's all their own fault. They made their own choice. The fact that the mainstream media and government people decided for them is again their own fault. I have zero sympathy now with these fascist compliant bot people running and ruling over our lives with their shame tactics, bad-mouthing and sneering looks at us. Bollocks to them people. They offer us nothing except misery and death, because they can't be bothered doing some basic research. Let them have it. Give them the most virulent form of injections, and then they can leave the rest of us alone. Where are we next? There's growing evidence that as states in the US try to order more people to obey their edicts, which is not law, by the way, as the US also heads towards a second lockdown, that law enforcement simply is going to refuse to enforce these orders this time round. Hear to the cops. In New York, mass murderer of the elderly Andrew Cuomo got upset this week. Good. Because many of the state sheriffs have come out and assured the public that they're not going to enforce his order that no more than 10 people can attend a Thanksgiving dinner. The New Mexico governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham, who has made a similar order for her state, came out in public and even admitted that her order, or anybody else's order limiting people attending Thanksgiving dinners, is not enforceable. It's an edict, that's not a law. In Oregon, the Marion County Sheriff's Office has also publicly stated they will not enforce Governor Kate Brown's orders after she publicly told citizens to call the police on people who were not adhering to her COVID decrees. Decree is also not a law. Just after Gavin Newsom ordered the curfew, Breitbart News reported that every single sheriff in Southern California has publicly stated they will not enforce Newsom's curfew. Good stuff. And Fox News interviewed Sacramento County's Sheriff Scott Jones, who stated that he also was not going to enforce the governor's curfew order nor any other COVID order. And he said the American public appears to be sufficiently uneducated enough today to not even understand what a law is anymore. A new law is made when someone in the legislative process proposes a bill which then must pass both houses of the legislature, which is the government body tasked with making laws, and then signed into law by the executive branch, either the governor at the state level or the president at the national level. That has not taken place at all. These are not laws. They're suggestions for the stupid bot people to consent to. But you asked for it. No, uneducated bot people asked for it, not organic people with a brain. The executive branch can issue orders, but the issuance of an order does not automatically make it either legal or enforceable, not even during a pandemic. And since these COVID orders by governors are supposedly in the name of emergency health orders related to COVID, it appears that most of the country's law enforcement agencies are waking up to the fact that these governors just mostly want more control. Hear, hear. Especially when they themselves do not even follow their own orders, and these orders actually have little or nothing to do with health and are therefore refusing to enforce them. Great stuff. And I hope the common law people get with and support the cops in their stance. Now is not the time for division. We need them to come and meet the people. And if any sheriffs want to come on our show and talk about unity between the people and the police, we'll have a show ready and available at early notice. Now, you want evidence they don't follow their own rules? Well, here it is. The San Francisco Chronicle reported this week that the Democrat California governor Gavin Newsom and his wife attended a birthday party with at least a dozen people from several different households for his advisor Jason Kinney. Newsom attended a dinner party at the French Laundry, a restaurant in Napa Valley that charges $800 per person for their tasting menu. $800 per person. And there's people on the streets. While he tells Californians they can't gather with their families for Thanksgiving. Now, photos of Newsom's dinner party was leaked to Fox LA, and no one at the dinner party was social distancing, and nobody was wearing masks. Now, last Wednesday it was revealed that the California Medical Association officials were also among the maskless guests who joined Newsom at the French Laundry. And now they're laughing at the peasants for being outraged. Now, according to the reporter Adam Housley, there was 22 people in attendance with Newsom, not 12 as previously claimed, and the dinner cost about $15,000, and some of those who attended the dinner are now privately laughing at the controversy it's caused. Because Yountville is my hometown and where the French Laundry is located, I thought I'd do some digging. Facts about the Newsom dinner. The bar bill was around $15,000. 22 people in attendance, no masks, all indoors, and they got so loud other patrons complained. There was zero effort to go outside. There was no social distancing of any type, and I'm also told some of those there are now privately laughing at the controversy. This is my hometown and walls speak, he added. At which point did the public not realise all politicians are taking the piss out of us? I said it months ago. Are politicians immune? Cops immune? The press and the media immune? As not one of them have observed social distancing, lockdown or masks. They only put a mask on if there's a camera. The minute the camera goes, they all slap each other on the back and let's all laugh at the stupid people. That's what they do. And it is all about pushing the people into what we will tolerate. And our toleration bar needs to be pushed way in the other direction. Because if you tolerate this, then your children will be next. This next section is called the Advanced Warning section. It's a bit like the old sub-intel. And it's something that has to be said and needs to be noted of what they're planning and what they're up to and what are the potential outcomes. Now, in a report this week, it is estimated that 11 to 13 million renter households are at risk of eviction, including to a report by Stout, an investment bank and global advisory firm. And it predicts that there could be as many as 6.4 million potential eviction filings on January the 1st, 2021, if the CDC moratorium is lifted. Now, since the order does not cancel or freeze rent, all of the tenants' back rent will be due come January the 1st. How are they going to pay it? And without rent relief or an extension of the protection, many struggling renters will face eviction. And I have a feeling that the moratorium may be extended, but that will just put even more financial stress on the landlords. Now, from my perspective, the landlord stress is a deliberate ploy for the banks to take more homes away from people. Otherwise, they would have put funds in the debt relief for landlords. How can they expect landlords to absorb the cost and potentially lose their investments due to rogue government decisions and programs? Yeah. 500 billion today. That could have gone to the landlords who have lost thousands and thousands of dollars and are in danger of losing their homes and investments. No, let's give it to Trump so he can go and vaccinate us all. With his Black Sun group. At some point there will be no more moratoriums, and all of that back rent will be due, and most of the households will not be able to pay it and will be evicted anyway. Meanwhile, more Americans are losing their jobs with each passing day, and the new lockdowns that are being put in place all over the country right now will greatly accelerate that process. And no matter what happens politically, it appears that our national economic nightmare is only going to intensify in 2021, and that means we are likely to see even more civil unrest. That is coming. I'm not going to deny it. I'll call it as it is here. It is coming. Of course, most people already understand what is happening to our country, and that is why so many wealthy individuals are fleeing our core urban areas. Now, this report is underestimating it, because we put out last month it was 440,000. But according to the New York Post, more than 300,000 New Yorkers have moved out of the city over the past 8 months, and city residents filed 295,103 change of address requests from March the 1st through October 31st, according to the data that the Post obtained from the US Postal Service under a Freedom of Information Act. Now, since the data details only when 11 or more forwarding requests were made to a particular county outside NYC, the number of moves is actually higher. Yes, it's over 500,000 now. And a single address change could represent an entire household, which means far more than the 300,000 New Yorkers fled the 5 boroughs. And it said this is already the craziest time in modern American history as we head into another deeply troubled year. Now, for a long time now, I've been warning that the economic collapse, famine and civil unrest were coming. And now all three are in the headlines on a continual basis. Now, unfortunately for us, what we have experienced so far is just the beginning. And the global authorities are hoping for a reset, as promised by Mr. Schwab. But unless we stop it, it's not a reset, it's a great meltdown instead. And like the last song played, why are we the people tolerating this? The UN stepped in this week. They have a World Food Programme, and they received their usual backslapping award from as the winner of a Nobel Peace Prize in 2020. And the head of that agency is warning of the potential for absolutely devastating famines around the globe in 2021. The COVID-19 lockdowns that were instituted all over the world this year created tremendous hardship, they said, in many wealthy countries, but in poorer countries the economic devastation has created alarming waves of hunger. Now, there was hope that things would get better when lockdowns were lifted. They were never going to lift them. It was just another illusion program. But now a new round of lockdowns is being imposed, and many experts are warning about what this could mean for those living in deep poverty. And David Beasley was absolutely thrilled when his agency was given the Nobel Peace Prize, because of all the attention has given him more opportunities to ask for more money. But like the UN channel then. Because without a massive influx of money, he says that they're going to see famines of biblical proportions in 2021. And the head of the World Food Programme says the UN agency with this prize has given a spotlight and megaphone to warn world leaders that next year is going to be worse than this year, and without billions of dollars we are going to have famines of biblical proportions. Now, allied to that is widespread crop failures, along with the economic shutdowns brought on by COVID-19, has put a tremendous amount of stress on global food distribution systems. Except the widespread crop failure was nothing to do with COVID-19, as they started that with the weather wars, remember, And we highlighted it back in, March last year. And with food prices rapidly rising all over the planet, this is hurting the people at the bottom of the economic food chain the most, according to the report. And according to Beasley, many areas of the globe are potentially facing a major food crisis in the next 3 to 6 months. And according to a joint analysis by WFP and the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, 20 countries are likely to face potential spikes in acute food insecurity in the next 3 to 6 months and require urgent attention. Why didn't a trustee give them that for food instead of giving money to Trump for vaccines? And of those, Yemen, South Sudan, northeastern Nigeria and Burkina Faso have some areas that have reached critical hunger situations following years of conflict or other shocks, according to the UN agencies, and any further deterioration in coming months could lead to a risk of famine. And then the report says, here in the United States, the good news is that nobody is facing starvation at this point. Really? With 46 million on food stamps? I don't think so. But the bad news is that we are in the midst of the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression of the 1930s, and some Americans are waiting in line for up to 12 hours for food handouts. 12 hours. And if you don't believe that, here is an excerpt from a news report about a food distribution event that has just happened in Texas. Thousands of families lined up to receive groceries at a Texas food bank this past weekend, some queuing for as long as 12 hours as the ongoing coronavirus pandemic continues to inflict hunger and economic hardships on the state. The food bank distribution event held by North Texas Food Bank in Dallas on Saturday saw 600,000 pounds of food given away, including 7,000 turkeys. And they said you have to be pretty desperate to be willing to wait in line for 12 hours. But then when you're hungry, or very hungry, and you're also very short on money, all of a sudden you'll be willing to do things that you wouldn't normally do, like take vaccines. That's the non-winning choices I warned of in Tuesday. And it said for those that wouldn't have a Thanksgiving dinner otherwise, this food distribution event was a real big deal. I see blessings coming to us because we all are struggling, and I appreciate North Texas for helping us out, resident Samantha Wood said whilst waiting in her vehicle. I haven't been working since last December and can't find a job. They cut my unemployment. It's a real big deal, according to Cynthia Coulter. There's your warnings. Scientists have made a major energy transfer breakthrough, according to this report this week, achieving unprecedented efficiency using a so-called anti-laser device to capture diffuse microwave energy, which has taken humanity one step closer to a wireless future. At present, wireless charging for devices like smartphones is possible, but within an extremely limited range and with varying degrees of efficiency. And long-range wireless power transfer on an industrial scale is still somewhat of a distant dream. However, a team of researchers at the University of Maryland have taken a huge step towards making it a reality by expanding upon existing techniques for ranged energy transfer. Now, the majority of current research in the area focuses on narrow beams of energy aimed at a target receptor, but energy loss and the efficiency issues are fairly large, which costs us all a lot extra on our electricity bill because of loss of energy through the wires and the sockets. Now, in contrast, the UMD team explored long-range power transmission without the need for focused beams of energy by employing a concept known as anti-laser. And the lasers are the result of a domino effect in which protons of a certain colour are shot out, triggering a chain reaction with other protons of the same colour, thus creating a beam of light we recognise as a laser beam. And on the other hand, an anti-laser reverses this process, so instead of boosting photons along a coherent path, it absorbs tuned photons. Now, it's led by the UMD Professor of Physics Stephen Anlage of the Quantum Materials Centre, and the team decided that they wanted to prove such a reverse laser was possible in a more challenging environment and more akin to the real world than the laboratory. And so they said they wanted some sort of random, arbitrary, complex environment, and we wanted to make perfect absorption happen under those really demanding circumstances. And that was the motivation for this, and that, according to him, they did it. So how did they do it? Well, the team is set up, or has been described, as a labyrinth of wires through which electromagnetic waves, or more specifically microwaves, could travel. And microwaves are a common candidate in energy transfer research, given their flexibility and the ease of manipulation. Interesting terminology there. The team then beamed microwaves of different frequencies, amplitudes and phases through the labyrinth to an absorber embedded in the centre, and through repeated experiments using this labyrinth, the researchers fine-tuned the exact properties of input microwaves to maximise efficiency of energy transfer. And in the best case scenarios, the labyrinth absorbed 99.999% of the power they sent into it. The team next examined wireless power transfer capabilities of the system by repeating the experiments within a cavity. This time the two brass plates placed at either end several feet apart, with an asymmetric hole in the middle to randomise the microwaves, which were later beamed in. And sure enough, with the right tweaks, they achieved 99.996% efficiency. And he said, if we have an object which we want to deliver power to, we will first use our equipment to measure some properties of the system, according to Lei Shen, who is the author of the paper. And he said the efficacy of and safety of such a technique in a real-world environment would also need to be examined for years before regulatory approval would be granted. Now, on the one hand, this could sound really good. There's a lot of energy floating around, and this can be reduced and make it more efficient. It sounds great. But I always caution on technology and ponder on how it can be weaponized against us. And there's enough in that report to suggest it can be weaponized. But if I have it correctly, this cleans up microwaves and then turns it into energy. And if that's correct, that will be a good thing. And the next step would then to be negate any harmful effects of the 1 through 5G wireless industry. The alt media. I don't know what's alternative anymore, because there is none. But what we've seen in the past few weeks is the rise of 2014 again. Back come Pete Santilli, the original tank, in my opinion, in terms of character. Jimmy Church, Wilcock, Drake, Tanath, Kent Dunn, and another show running first Common Law, then Militia and Veterans Enforcement stories, then out went the news, intel, financial details, and in came the very childish presenting another group's members as a gloating exercise. And then they switched to the Wilcock-esque buy my whatever is for sale this week. It's all very 2014. And if we're not careful, coming soon, channeling of dear brothers from the Pleiades. Keenan returns from the dead. Cindy Courier declares herself Queen of America. Wynne and Gould proclaiming they still own everything. Heather Giraffe restarts OPPT. Teal Swan comes back to tell her listeners to commit suicide again. Tellinger espousing Ubuntu. And Cassidy and Bill Ryan get back together again and wheel out more corrupted interviewees. Guest appearances to come: Rick Light, Lady Dragon and Grammy J. Corey Good to reinvent himself as a diet and teeth expert. Leo Zagami back to tell you he's still in the Illuminati. And Shane the Ruler reinvents himself as a non-Draco Rothschild. Graham Hancock finally writes a book not about ayahuasca, and Fulford extolling the virtues of the Pichu Lodge. Dawn Hamhart and Danny McKenney show how they operated Randy Morgan's by strings. Bubba goes back to CV admin duties along with the alcoholic drug runner and his boatman. You have to laugh. But this stuff is not funny, actually. And all of them have become a massive distraction. And zero of them are providing any genuine solutions to fix the expanding problems list facing all people around the world, never mind America. Too content to copy and THI for their own ego and ends. And it's all very desperate stuff, I have to say. And at this point, the lack of focusing on what is real becomes more apparent by the day. All of it is distraction, dividing people into smaller groups of followers, all trying to reinvent the wheel with the same bullshit that failed before. One channel states they're going to be alternative to the mainstream media, then delivers the mainstream media shows to your app. Does that make any sense whatsoever? And how is that a solution to fixing our problems? Come and watch our banal TV mind control shows. Oh, and by the way, there's a fee. Another one. Think and act different is the only way forward. Repeating old system ideas, all of which failed, is the last refuge of the insane. And it's all about the comfort zone and familiarity aligned with a convenient distraction from not facing your fears. Our show on Tuesday released those inner fears for you all to face. It is shadow work on an interactive basis that this show is known for. Some won't face themselves, and so will easily jump into the past failed programs and show formats, and the folly of that will become most apparent over time. The alt media has descended into the pit of 2014 news, narrative and repeated agency-based shows and programs. His story always repeats unless you stop the cycle. As for THI, we will retain focus on what is real, continue to expose those who harm us, continue to focus on what we can do, and continue to focus on improving everyone's lives, and continue to point out distractions, and also expand your thinking, consciousness, and develop critical thinking minds. That's what we do. This next piece, before we go into the music break and then we go into some detailed exposés, was a word of warning from one of our members. Our sweet children, last but not least, always have to pay dearly for their stupid bot parents, taking them to their stupid bot physicians to keep them current on their 45 vaccine schedule before 6 years of age. So their child can attend a stupid bot school, non-compliance not allowed, must keep up the appearance that I'm being a good parent doctor, while our perfectly healthy children become bot statistics. 54% of the children in America have chronic illnesses. There's 54% of the future workforce gone on the dole backs of future taxpayers. Basic income, anyone? Yes, the world of compliant bots, a bucket full of indoctrination a day, keeps their minds enslaved. That was a good and to the point input, and I don't disagree with any of it, except to consider that that is the plan all along. There will be no future jobs. That is their plan. Most of it will be done by machines. Cops, military, government, banking will all go under their decentralisation plan. Jobs will go to the compliant bot slaves, and the rest will survive on scraps like the District 9 movie. Underground insurgents hiding from robocops will become reality, but we can stop that now with non-compliance of their illegal rules and build a new future for us all. Please be a divergent. Right, we're going into 3 exposés, which has become a common theme, feature of THI shows. And yes, it involves the 3-letter group again. 2 of them this time. So the WikiLeaks documents has now revealed that the CIA agents were given cover identities and diplomatic passports to enter the country. This was in Germany. And there was a base that was used to develop hacking tools as part of the CIA's massive digital arsenal. Now, the leaks purportedly revealed that a top-secret CIA unit used in the German city of Frankfurt as the starting point for numerous hacking attacks on Europe, China, and the Middle East. And so the Frankfurt base was reported that the group developed Trojans and other malicious software in the American Consulate General, which is the largest US consulate in the world. And the German daily newspaper reported that the building was known to be home to a vast network of intelligence personnel, including CIA agents, NSA spies, military secret service personnel, Department of Homeland Security employees and Secret Service employees. And it reported that the Americans had also established a dense network of outposts and shell companies in Frankfurt, and the program's focused targets on Europe, the Middle East and also Africa. And the documents revealed that the CIA experts, more like clowns, worked in the building undercover and include advice for life in Germany. And the report says, do not leave anything electronic or sensitive unattended in your room. And it also told employees, advising them to enjoy Lufthansa's free alcohol in moderation. One big piss up, one big piss take. You got to remember, it's the American people who are paying for these clowns. Just saying. The Frankfurt hackers, part of the Centre for Cyber Intelligence, which is an oxymoron, Europe, were said to be given diplomatic passports and a State Department identity, and it also instructed employees how to safely enter Germany. And a WikiLeaks tweet published a section of the Frankfurt information, and the consulate was the focus of a German investigation into US intelligence capabilities following the 2013 revelation that the NSA agents had tapped Angela Merkel's phone. So it also reported that the Americans had also, as I said, established a dense network of outposts and shell companies. They also, in the report, outed the fact that they turned televisions into bugs. An intelligence expert who examined the dump, rendition InfoSec founder Jake Williams, told the news agency Associated Press that the documents appeared to be 100% legitimate. And Bob Ayers, a retired US intelligence official currently working as a security analyst, told the AP the release was real bad for the agency. Now, John Liu, a spokesman for the CIA, told we do not comment on the authenticity or content of purported intelligence documents. And according to WikiLeaks documents, it revealed that the CIA could remotely activate certain Samsung smart televisions equipped with cameras and microphones and turn them into bugs. Oops. Smartphones hacked was also covered in the report, and also claimed that if the CIA had hacked a cell phone, it could then bypass encryption methods used by popular chat programs such as WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal and Confide. Did I not warn years ago that encryption was fake? The CIA and NSA created it with backdoors so they could access it. And encryption was another of their seducement programs, all passed off as protecting your security and your privacy, when essentially you just gave them free rein to do the very things encryption was created for. We have to think better. And the idea of encryption was to target the ones who wanted their privacy and security protected. And what it is a reverse psychology trap. Compliant bots will accept anything, but those that think different and are aware will not, and the encryption was for those people. Now, the report said this prompted some concern at first online that all such messaging apps were no longer effectively encrypted. They weren't to begin with. But the exploit only applied to people whose phones were already compromised, like all of them. All apps, no matter which non-thinking person tells you otherwise, are part of their network. And according to the leaks, the CIA's undocumented exploits on popular smartphone models. But when you understand, like I laid out in the Clowns in Panic show, all phones, all apps are deliberately compromised and are also being ran on your data to create cryptocurrency, which is why your phone freezes at times, why your batteries drain, and why you need to replace phones every 2 years so they can add more software for larger data collection. You know, the most popular app, or one of the most popular, is the Weather Channel. And it's fine to get warnings, but to get that app, the Weather Channel needs access to all your contacts, texts, pictures, emails, messenger and social media accounts. In other words, they are collating your whole life. Now, people may ask, why would the Weather Channel do that? Because the Weather Channel is ran by IBM and their Watson AI system. You know, some people are saying I'm only going on about apps because of Life Force. No. They're sleepwalking their people into what they want. Maybe they deserve it. That's what happens when you chase pieces of paper and illusion. And in a series of tweets, the NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden said deliberately leaving vulnerabilities in software and hardware open left public users susceptible to attacks. And the documents also revealed that the CIA had the ability to conduct false flag attacks using malware that has been stolen from other countries. Oops. And also they said the dump showed that the CIA had lost control of its arsenal of hacking tools. I wonder how that happened. And I wonder whether she's put it all back. Now, WikiLeaks was said to be given the files by an anonymous source who wanted to shed public light on the hacking programs, and the collection of documents vastly outnumber the trove on the NSA released by Snowden. The next part of it, listen closely. It's the next seducement program by the alt media. And in line with this Frankfurt disclosure, it appears that the CIA was using the same foreign data center to hack the US elections and got caught. And this may be why, as the Gateway Pundits reports this week, the CIA was completely out of their server raid operation, rumoured to take place in Germany. They were left out. And the raid was likely levelled against the CIA's own server farm that ran the remote Dominion Skittle hacking operation the night of the election. All interesting stuff, no doubt. But what does it change? One rogue administration replacing another, neither of which has or will address the now blatantly obvious elephant in the room on a global scale, the CIA. Now, one thing I keep hearing, which always raises alarm bells to me, is release the Kraken, which has been repeatedly put out like a meme in the last few weeks. But the Kraken is a joint CIA and DoD cyber warfare program. That is what the Kraken is. And you really think those organisations will work for the people of the country? The CIA and the DoD. Release the Kraken. What, from investigation? Prosecution? And what this is direct evidence of is faction fighting. The DoD, remember, had prior knowledge of this fake virus, and that is why they stockpiled PPEs in December of last year, only for Kushner to double deal them with deals with China and India. This is what it's all boiling down to. Faction fighting. The CIA itself now has 4 separate departments known as Langley 1 through 4. Langley 1 is the Reaganites. 2 is the Nazis, white and Zionist. 3 is the Obama-led Muslim Brotherhood, and 4 is an elevated version of the previous 3, and I suspect not entirely human either. So, assuming all this is correct and they release the Kraken, which group will arrest them? Another clan group is what? That's what people have to understand. Because someone gets arrested does not mean it was done for the benefit of we the people. I've been talking about this for 5 years. It's roughly 5 years this week or this month, give or take, since I did the Factions show. Trump had 4 years to build a peoples-based task force. We at THI were tasked to envision the new way and develop it for and by the people, until someone decided their ego had to be more important than the people's. And maybe now you know why Trump said he was withdrawing the troops from Germany recently. This is why. His CIA buddies, it seems like Pompeo, told them to get everyone out for fear of arrests and or prosecutions. And what this reveals is something that I've stated all along. The vast array of global issues on all levels somehow always have the sticky fingerprints of the CIA involvement in it. And we can carry on blaming Chinese, Russians, Koreans, Iran, Cuba and every other created boogeyman country. But the global issues all stem from the Five Eyes groups with other agencies attached to it, like the P2 Lodge and Mossad, with the CIA playing a central role in all of it. They need to be thrown out of every country and arrested upon entry into America and charged with crimes against humanity. And I'm asking all CIA agents and their subsidiary companies to be then investigated, closed down and or repurposed. Only then can we begin to fix the unearthly mess that organisation has created. And what this also tells you is it was they who cheated in the recent elections. Yet where is the media outcry? Oh, did I tell you that the CIA runs them as well? To all the agents within the CIA and those actually interested in looking out for your fellow Americans, I'm told you need an IQ of 135 to 140 to join. I'm asking you all to use that and shut the abomination that you are connected to down. People in your organisation are going to destroy everything, including you. I know this show goes into Langley. I'm appealing to you all to stand up now. We go from one major agency to another one now, that we haven't covered much of the rogue elements within this organisation to date, but tonight we focus on the FBI a bit. The primary mission of the FBI, formerly law enforcement, was noted to have silently changed in 2013 to national security. And the FBI spokesman Paul Bresson stated dryly that when our mission changed after 9/11, our fact sheet changed to reflect that. And a web page posted at cve.fbi.gov in February 2016 claimed that it's the FBI's primary responsibility, working with its many partners, to protect the nation from attacks by violent extremists. If only that was correct. Where were they with Black Lives Matter and Antifa? Nowhere to be seen. And you'll find out why soon. And the fact that they became national security, what that means is they came under the same blanket cover of the CIA and NSA, whereby their own crimes could not be investigated and called the National Security Act. The FBI has a roster of 15,000 spies who not only infiltrate and report back information, but actively assist and encourage people to commit terrorism so that the FBI can then catch them. Yes, you heard that correct. They actively assist and encourage people to commit terrorism so that the FBI can catch them. In 2012, Project Centered reported that the majority of terrorist plots in the United States were actually incited by FBI agents, and reports that such informants then receive cash rewards of up to $100,000 per case. What nice people they are. Not. People get killed or maimed in terrorist events, and they are running them to collect cash bonuses. How much lower will people stoop for pieces of paper with numbers on them? The reality is it's become a cancer on society, this insane drive for lots of pieces of paper, whereby anything and everything goes just to attain it, like drugs, guns, organ harvesting, adrenochrome, child and sex trafficking. The people not see that as pure evil, for a currency that is not even real money. $100,000 and people die, and they are inciting it and creating it. Now, in the days of Edgar Hoover, the FBI was widely feared as a tool of blackmail. Oops. But in the 21st century, however, its activities are more blatant, child pornography being one of them. The FBI has run several child pornography websites, and the ACLU obtained documents indicating that it was actually authorised to take over 23 child pornography websites in addition to what is called the playpen. Entrapment. The FBI coerces thousands of young people as the price for settling a minor legal problem into dangerous careers as an informant. That is the same tactic the CIA use. And many lead people within the alt media have fallen victim to that entrapment. A number of them. Now, Sarah Stillman, writing in the New Yorker that the snitch-based system has proved notoriously unreliable and has fueled wrongful convictions. Mass surveillance. Since at least 2010, the FBI has been planting hidden microphones in a range of places, from light fixtures in courthouses to car parks, bushes and bus stops. In January of 2016, guidelines based on the UK's widely criticised Prevent programme, they told high schools across the USA to report students who criticise government policies and Western corruption as potential future terrorists. Like the member said earlier, bot schools. Assassinations. Although the FBI tracks how many police officers die in the line of duty, it keeps no such record for how many civilians are killed by the police each year. Statements. Matt Connolly, a former Deputy District Attorney, noted in 2015 that the FBI, listen closely, does not record its interviews. Instead, 2 FBI agents ask questions and listen to the answers without tape recording or obtaining a certified transcript. Instead, they return to their office and, based on their recollection and any notes they may have taken during the interview, write up a summary of what transpired. And summaries are, in most cases, written hours later and sometimes even the following day. And this record, inaccurate as it might be, then becomes the official record of what was said during the interview. Just us, not justice in action right there. And when you add in the fact that Americans have the shortest attention span of all leading countries, and yes, it's a fact, and this is how they conduct investigations in business. The potential for innocent people to go to jail and have their lives ruined because some jackass in the FBI misses or missed out key portions of an interview due to poor recall or deliberate inflection of the facts. September the 11th, 2001. Rex Toome, Chief Investigative Publicity for the FBI, asked, why was there no mention of 9/11 on Osama bin Laden's most wanted webpage? He replied that the reason why 9/11 is not mentioned on Osama bin Laden's most wanted page is because the FBI has no hard evidence connecting bin Laden to 9/11. Oops. Also on that day, the FBI arrested 5 Israelis spotted in Manhattan behaving suspiciously. They referred to the group as the High Fivers after their apparent glee at the 9/11 attacks, but who are elsewhere known as the Dancing Israelis. Now the group, which included in those 5 2 Mossad agents, were detained for 70 days and then deported, not jailed. Why should they be jailed? Well, you'll find out soon. The 3 of them later stated on Israeli TV that they were in New York City that morning to, quote, to document the event, unquote. Remember Netanyahu saying 9/11 was good for us, and yet millions in this country still want to believe it was the Muslims. Well, technically that is correct, as Islam and the Torah Talmud are one and the same religion, if you research it to the same level that I have. Israel Cohen warned in 1912 the goal was to deliver America to the Zionists. 9/11 began the fall of America, and with people like Kushner and several other Zionist fake Jews running all key posts in our country, that fall will not stop until America is rendered a defenceless third world country. Don't believe me? Look around you. It's already happening. It's not dystopian and future or like Star Trek and all the other ET programs. It's now and the past. And it's a hostile takeover by stealth. And people are shit scared to speak up due to anti-Semitism labels. But the point is, these people are not even Semites to begin with. It was their ancestors of these people who destroyed the Garden of Eden and then spread their filth globally. And as the line stated in the 100 series, quote, Eden never had a chance with 2 serpents in the garden. Unquote. Serpents being the operative word. Eve was a serpent. Then we come to the FBI and the 2001 anthrax attacks. Prompted the most expensive investigation in the FBI's history, costing around $100 million. That is more evidence of money laundering, as it was clear to any rational thinking person who was involved in that, and yet again it was the CIA and their research labs. And it blamed a Bruce Ivans, who was a lone nut, common loop theory that, who had just been found dead, coincidentally, or coincidentally, which then avoided the need for a trial. And Richard Lambert, the FBI officer who was put in charge of the investigation, said that the investigation suffered from intense compartmentalisation and a lack of critical resources such as bioweapons experts. With $100 million fund? Again, does that make any sense? And he sued the FBI in 2015, alleging that they were concealing evidence that would have exonerated Bruce Ivins. And then we come to this document out of the FBI. This was part of an official memo to the FBI. The date, November the 22nd, 1963. 1 hour and 15 minutes after the fatal shooting of JFK. At 1:45 p.m, George Herbert Walker Bush, president of the Zapata Offshore Drilling Company, Houston, Texas, residence 5525 Briar, Houston, telephonically furnished the following information to writer by long-distance telephone from Tyler, Texas. Bush stated that he wanted to be kept confidential, but wanted to furnish hearsay that he recalled hearing in recent weeks, the day and the source unknown, he said. He stated that one James Parrott has been talking of killing the president when he comes to Houston, and Bush stated that Parrott is possibly a student at the University of Houston and is active in political matters in the area. He stated that he felt Mrs. Fawley and gave a telephone number, or Arlene Smith and another telephone number of the Harris County Republican headquarters would be able to furnish additional information regarding the identity of Parrott. Yeah, Parrott being the operative word. Bush stated that he was proceeding to Dallas, Texas, and would remain in the Sheraton Dallas Hotel and return to his residence on the 23rd, the following day, and left his office telephone number. Yes, Bush was getting out of the way. Why? Because pictures put him at the scene at the time in the doorway of the repository as the motorcade went past, including Ted Cruz's father. Oops. Harry Truman stated this in a memo. Dear Bess, we want no Gestapo or secret police. FBI is tending in that direction. They are dabbling in sex life scandals and playing blackmail. Again, a copy of the CIA tactics. And he stated Edgar Hoover would give his right eye to take over, and all congressmen and senators are afraid of him. I'm not, and he knows it. If I can prevent it, there will be no NKVD, which is the Israeli Gestapo that trampled all over Italy in the so-called Bolshevik Revolution, by the way, or Gestapo in this country. And he said Edgar Hoover's organisation would make a good start towards a citizen spy system, and it's not for me. But that is exactly what it turned into. And Hoover, like many others of that time just after the war, including the sheriffs, more commonly known as Bush, was of German descent. and ran with their Dutch counterparts like Eisenhower, and yet people still believe America won the Second World War? If they did, why were Germans and Dutch running all the highest positions in the American government in the 1950s and onwards? Right. Penultimate piece. This is kind of a follow-on from Tuesday's section as more information came in. And this is a warning in New Mexico. I know there's an awful lot of militia there, and it's time they stepped up. As the state there has just temporarily shut down 11 businesses after allegedly they tested positive for coronavirus. You know, these tests that have a 97% false positive. And currently there are 244 establishments in New Mexico on the watch list. Businesses are subjected to a possible 2-week shutdown if they have 4 or more rapid responses, whatever that means. And the 11 businesses, 4 of which are Albertsons, notice no Walmarts, are now shut down, and they will be closed until December the 2nd. And according to the public health order, establishments will have to close for 2 weeks. It's that program again. If they have 4 or more rapid responses now within the last 2 weeks. Again. Come on, Glenn. The order states that this applies to retail spaces, places of lodging, food and drink establishments, close contact businesses and other essential businesses, not non-essential now. And the closure of the 11 businesses comes after the state allegedly broke its daily record for new COVID-19 infections on Wednesday, November the 18th, along with 2,897 new cases, 97% of which is a false positive, and allegedly there were 26 additional COVID-19 deaths, which is attributable to other health concerns, not COVID-19. All based on fake tests and fake death rates. But this was warned of this coming with the food in February of March last year. And it was also listed in the plans of theirs that are read out again on Thursday. The people have to start fighting back. Open your businesses and tell them to go and F themselves. Then this came in. Abstract of US 2020279585, paragraph A1. A method is providing for acquiring and transmitting biometric data, for example, vital signs of a user, where the data is analysed to determine whether the user is suffering from a viral infection such as COVID-19. The method includes using a pulse oximeter, or a Fitbit, to acquire at least pulse and blood oxygen saturation percentage, which is then transmitted wirelessly to a smartphone. To ensure that the data is accurate, an accelerometer within the smartphone is used to measure movement of the smartphone and or the user. So they knew this was coming. How would an accelerometer just appear? No, it was already there. This is a planned event. And then it says once accurate data is acquired, it is uploaded to the cloud, in other words the AI, or host as they call it, where the data is used alone or together with other vital signs to determine whether the user is suffering from or likely to suffer from a viral infection such as COVID-19. And depending on the specific requirements, the data changes thereto and or the determination can be used to alert medical staff and take corresponding actions. The data is also used to create cryptocurrencies. Just saying. Crypto is developed known as mining, as in data mining. Now do you get the picture? So when was this patented? Well, it was patented on October the 13th for COVID. In 2020? No. 2015 by a certain person called Richard Rothschild. Now do you understand it's a planned event? And what they're saying is now any technology device that is connected to or fitted to, like Fitbits or medical devices, can now be tuned for interference with your body's circadian rhythms and also alter your DNA and RNA. Then we get this piece. Bank note maker De La Rue has revealed that it's in early discussions, which is a complete and utter lie, about working on COVID-19 immunity certification schemes. Freedom passes, that is. Clive Vasher, chief executive of the company, which as well as a currency also makes authentication and security products, said he had been approached by governments and also private companies. But possible products being discussed internally include seals on vaccines and codes on vaccines, vials that would ensure they are genuine. Other measures could include holograms on certificates and services to track drugs through the supply chain. De La Rue revealed it has published half-year results that it was in early discussion regarding the immunity certification schemes, and Mr. Vasher told the PA, "We have digital and physical products which would be well suited." And he said, "It's very early to say, but we still don't know what a vaccine will look like." Yeah, right. Now, for those that don't know, and would question why would a bank note maker be involved in all of this, the reason is De La Rue company is run by the Rothschilds. A piece put out this week confirmed what we put in Tuesday by the disruption physician. And he said this: any vaccine that has to be stored at -80 centigrade is not a vaccine. It is a transfection agent kept alive so it can infect your cells and transfer genetic material. Of course, we covered transfection in Tuesday's show. And he said, don't let them fool you. This is genetic manipulation of humans on a massive scale. And then we come to this piece. Murder by injection, the Great Swine Flu Massacre, when the US government murdered hundreds of Americans with the swine flu vaccine. The national programme of swine flu injections was hardly underway before alarming rumours of sudden death and of terrible side effects such as various forms of paralysis began to alarm the American people. They were rumours simply because they were suppressed by the nation's press. No change there then. And they were publicly denounced as lies by every public health official in America. This is precedence. After some weeks during which the officials desperately tried to complete their announced goal of inoculating every person in America with this poison, they finally admitted that 1 or 2 people had collapsed and died of acute heart failure having been administered the poison. But in the ensuing weeks, this figure continued to be revised upwards until the officials admitted that just over 200 persons had died after being injected with the vaccine. The actual figure, which was never released from Washington, was 1,600 people who died immediately after being injected. Now, despite these casualties, the officials continued the programme of injection until December the 16th, 1976, when, listen closely, because this is what we need now. When public outcry became so great that it was officially stopped. When public outcry became so great that it was officially stopped. 2 generations later, the psychopaths want to try it again, unless the public outcry becomes so great and we officially stop it again. Pfizer, the pharmaceutical company, made headlines announcing the imminent release of the COVID-19 vaccine to much fanfare, including Trump, I might add. But the former vice president and chief scientist for Pfizer has come out this week and flatly rejected the need for any vaccines to bring the COVID-19 pandemic to an end. And in a recent article, Dr. Michael Yeadon, Yeadon, who spent over 30 years leading new allergy and respiratory medicine research in some of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies and retired from Pfizer with the most senior research position in his field, wrote this week. He said, "There is absolutely no need for vaccines to extinguish the pandemic. I've never heard such nonsense talked about vaccines. You do not vaccinate people who aren't at risk from a disease. You also don't set about planning to vaccinate millions of fit and healthy people with a vaccine that hasn't been extensively tested on human subjects." And there you have it from one of their own people. Exactly. Stick your New World Order, your coronavirus and your poison vaccines up your arse sideways. Tuesday's show, final piece for tonight, brought the stark reality of THI being right again. And I take no pleasure in being right about that type of disclosure. In fact, I wish I was wrong. Now, we can carry on ignoring the input of THI and sleepwalk into oblivion. Or we can get our adult pants on and do something about it. We face a life, and in some cases, multi-life problem on this planet. And it's not important who is right or wrong. It is more important we act on it regardless of group affiliations. All of us, all 4 billion, not 7.5, have been duped, been wrong, been lied to, believed in bullshit, made mistakes. All of us. The folly is covering up the lies, the mistakes, duped, and following programs of deception our spirit knows is fake, because it makes life all that much more easier to go along with what the psychopaths have given, told, or supplied us. The opening song, Peace of Mind, is all too familiar to many people. I don't care what is going on as long as I have peace of mind in life. But we have paid heavily for that ignorance and laziness. To gain your peace of mind, you have to do the right things to the best of your abilities, not hiding behind your own laziness or cowardice. I told you all a few years back, the only thing that would save us is us. No God or gods, no Jesus, no Allah or Muhammad, no Yahweh, no Lord, no ET group, no government. No one. And the sooner people grasp that fact, and it is a fact, and come together with a common goal of saving humanity, then we will all suffer, including the so-called elites. Those jackasses are too stupid to realise it yet. Mass arrests, Trump winning, digital wallets, apps, and heaven forbid more mainstream media TV channels will not be saving us. If it did, we would not be in this position. Period. And to those that doubt, please show me the evidence of why I'm wrong. The cold-hearted facts and the brutal truth is, you have none. Only a collection of anecdotes provided to you by the very system that control you and us all. We gave them that control, and we can take that control away. But I'm just one person, Thomas. Please shut up with that. You are not one person if you combine with the all. If the People's Club is 100,000 or millions strong by now, this mask and lockdown programme would not have taken place. There is your difference, there is the solution, and there is your answer. The world currently is infected by a sickness called illusion, as in illusion. Illusion broke down is ill-us ion. When assembled correctly, it means us go ill. Illusion plays out in many forms. The illusion of power at the hands of the few is just that. Illusion. We the people have the power. We've just gotten too lazy to accept it and then act upon it, and handed it over to psychotic mindset people immersed in the world of illusion. Fame is an illusion. Some people say, I'm famous because of the popularity of our show. But I'm not famous. I'm just a more prominent, publicly known figure trying to shake the masses out of their illusion and slumber. Nothing more and nothing less. Money is an illusion. Paper currency is not real money. Only gold and silver are real money. In other words, physical assets. Pieces of paper with numbers on are not physical assets. And because they're not physical assets, you cannot pay off debt with pieces of paper, which is why when you pay off your house and it tells you on the title that you are a tenant, not the owner. Magic is the ultimate in illusion, light or dark. Both are demonic in origin, as the magic is performed by the spirit beings known as the jinns. All the spirit beings fell into the dark forces, binding contract and agreement to mess with humanity. All of them. Illusion is also used in movies, plays, books and media, where they present fact as fiction and fiction as fact. Truth then becomes a conspiracy theory to fool the masses, because they're mind controlled to believe that all conspiracy theories are made up by people who are completely nuts. But the real conspiracy theories are played out on your daily news channel. I call them the Portal People News, because their news is so far from the truth and our reality, it is from another world. The reality is, it is. Another illusion is politics, and the feeling our vote counts. That is not only an illusion, it is a delusion to boot. The illusion is to make people believe they are voting for their choice, when it's so far from the truth it's not funny. You are voting for their choices only. And Trump, like Putin before him, was just the latest version of the Saviour program, ran countless times throughout history, and not one delivered for them by the people. Not one. The illusion in America is you are voting for a president, for the government, when we have not had an official government since 1871. It's a corporation acting as a government called USA Inc. USA Illusion. Holidays are an illusion. They're days the dark do the ritual sacrifice, and we are asked to celebrate it. Experts are an illusion also, as we have found out heavily this year. Most don't know their asses from their elbow, yet continue to peddle their illusion, like Bill Gates, who now passes off as a virus expert when he couldn't fix viruses on his own Microsoft systems. At which point do we realise we have to cure ourselves from our own illusions? The world is in a mess now because we haven't created or built the new one. The old one is collapsing all around us. And yet the desire to hold on to it for grim death. No, let it go. It failed us all. Let it go. Why hold on to something that failed? It's like an alcoholic thinking one more drink will solve things. The first one didn't, and so the last one won't either. But what was so great about the old world, which is prior to 2012? Please enlighten me. What was so great about the old world? The truth is, outside of a relatively few people in overview, it is and was a disaster of disease, famine, wars, death, demonic, controlling, spying and low-frequency vibrations. Shorn of common sense, wisdom, caring and sharing, and people think we need to hang on to that. Let it go. It failed, they failed, and we failed in it. We have to rebuild anew. Old system parts no longer work. They just don't, no matter how much you convince yourselves otherwise. Just drop the illusion and step into the real world and come up with solutions to end the madness, largely of our own creation. The forces of darkness comes in many guises, be it the police, military, agencies, federal, universities, institutes, colleges, churches, all of them, hospitals, research centres and global entities like World Horror Organization, the UN and NATO, banks, all forms of them, social services, child natal care, charities, all stated to care, look after or teach us. And the answer is, none of them are. That is the greatest of illusions. And before all teachers, cops or hospital workers jump on my case saying that's not fair, it's not about you. Quit with the personal affronts attitude. That is exactly how they shut down the narrative. It's not about you. This is about us all. Teachers don't set the curriculum. Cops don't set the rules. Doctors and nurses don't create the policies. And neither do politicians either. Just saying. And so it's not about you. Self-sensitivity is another control mechanism, just like political correctness. Stop doing that. It only helps the system of control. Oh my God, Thomas is trashing everything, some will say. Every organisation, every group. Exactly. Why? Because there is no evidence anything in our lives currently is operating for and by the people. Again, please show me the evidence to the contrary, and I can show you over 300 THI shows where I can prove otherwise. It doesn't work. Let it go. But that means we have no one to turn to, Thomas. A common saying that, but that statement is looking for a saviour. Someone to save you again. You have you to turn to, and us. You are the saviour. Please imprint that into your heads. You are the saviour. Accept it, wear it, and act on it. You are the saviour. But Thomas, you give us no hope, some will say. I have. I have given you the knowledge to understand what is really going on this planet and beyond. I gave you the solutions to fix it. I gave you your life back, your power back, your self-appreciation back, your sovereignty back, raised your frequencies, took some of you out of the astral. You have had everything you need except the belief in and of yourself. The hope is and was also created by THI. It's called the People's Club. It does not have a leader. You are the leaders. It does not operate for and by one person. It operates for and by all of the people. There is your hope. I may have started it, but it's up to you all to build it into something we can all get behind and be proud of. It is the lifeline of our future and the future generations to come. It will not be built crying what others do or say. Only what you do and say matters. It will not be built by people with egos copying our model whilst trashing us, playing childlike divisive games. They, as it stands, are enemies of we the people. All because they wish to be important and not do the important things. They who want their name only up in lights, when we want all of us up in lights. Those who deal in the self at this point are enemies of we the people. The one has never worked. And the only thing not tried by the people is the all. You want hope? You already have it. You are the hope. Honest, open, perseverance and endeavour. That is your hope. And it is the real hope we must all abide by. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Bye for now.